start with her, because she's
Don's gone.
Okay.
Can't do it then.
Yeah. Good afternoon, everyone. We want to stand for the Pledge of Allegiance, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I want to apologize to the board. This is my fault. I forgot all about this meeting today. Okay. Board of Managers meeting for this day, May 17th. We're going to call to order. I need a motion for the approval of minutes from last meeting. I have a second? All in favor? Aye. Opportunity for the public to address the board on agenda items only. Okay. Juvenile Detention Center Report 17-2003. Ms. Keller? I'm sorry, is it Mrs. Stein? Oh, okay,
Yeah.
I apologize for that.
That's okay.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Best of wishes to you.
I might need them.
I'm not going to comment.
Currently at the center, we have 4 juveniles. I know it says 3. April admissions, we had 13. Year-to-date, 48 male. None for female. April days of service, 81 for male. Year-to-date for male, 309, 47 for female. There's been, we haven't had any other juveniles housed with us. The overtime was at $4,132.95 for the month of April, and that was due to mostly training. 142 hours. You can see the breakdown there. We now have 2 detention officers who are on intermittent FMLA, and currently 1 is still on PA National Guard leave. The Department of Human Services is in process of realigning licensing of the child residential facility back to the Office of Children, Youth, and Families Regional Program Office. I don't know much about it. All I know is that I'll be attending a 3,800 provider meeting on Monday, June 12th, to obtain more information. So Human Services was doing our licensing. They are going to know more. So the Children and Youth will be taking that over. And the committee task force meeting, which was to take place on May 12th, has been rescheduled for the 31st of May. And that concludes my report.
Any questions for Mrs. Stein? Thank you.
Thanks.
Congratulations.
Thanks.
A motion to accept the report as provided by Mrs. Stein? Second? All in favor? Aye. Opportunity for the public to address the board. Well, this is the Board of Managers. That's no problem. Motion, and members, other business? Motion to adjourn? Any second? Second. All in favor? Aye. Okay, that concludes the Board of Managers meeting. Move right on to the Prison Board meeting. A motion to approve the minutes from the last meeting? Second? All in favor? Aye. Opportunity for the public to address the board on agenda items only. Okay, this will be at the end, ma'am, for public comment. That's okay.
I thought you said,
Agenda item.
On agenda items, that,
I have an agenda item. Prison board?
okay.
Joan Hodawan, Scranton. I printed out the meeting agenda for the prison board, but I may have been premature because my version is not the same as the one out there. At what point in time do you finalize it before you post it to the website?
I try to do it 24
Ms. Hart.
hours in advance. I
Okay.
got the warden's report first thing this morning.
Okay, because that's what I was missing, was the warden's report. Do you have an in-house deadline so that, I mean, how does the public know that the version they're looking at on the website and printing out is final? You know, I mean, don't you have like a deadline so that once it's posted? And if it's going to be changed after it's been posted and made available to the public, is it possible then to print out any changes and put them on the table so that the public would have access to them. My point is, how am I, as a citizen, to make intelligent comments about your agenda if my version of your agenda and the supporting attachments is different from what you're looking at right now? I would love to have seen the warden's report, but what I've got here, none of the attachments were linked to the website, and there was only 3 of the 4 attachments. So I'm going to be surprised when the warden gives his report. And I can't comment on this as an agenda item because I didn't have access to it. So my recommendation is, if you're going to put the agenda on the website, okay, and then change it, you need to print out the changes and make them available to the public as they come up here. You know, I'm sorry, but I think you should be able to do that.
Sometimes in our situation, you might receive the report at the last minute. You know, what I mean, I think our government's very transparent, and we'll take that under advisement. We'll try to make sure that we get them in at an earlier time so you'll be able to see it.
Because when I came up at 9:45 before the county commissioners meeting, and I picked up the prison board agenda here, I noticed that it was different from the one I had printed out at home. Okay, and you know, I don't have the time to run back to home and then come back here for 10 o'clock. That's what I'm just saying. If you had just printed out one copy and said do not remove, and at least we could look at the warden's report, then we would have an opportunity to comment.
We'll check into that, ma'am, with our solicitor, see if we could do that. Thank you. Okay, 17-1022, motion to approve all current payables to the Community Correction Center, Juvenile Detention Center, and prison. Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Controller's report. Ms. Okowski.
The Controller's Office reviewed the prison inmate and canteen account reconciliations, which were prepared by the Prison Business Office for the month of April 2017, and found no discrepancies between the reconciliations and the bank statements. The balance in the inmate account was $315,866.35 as of April 30th, 2017. The balance in the canteen checking account was $419,590.96 as of April 30th, 2017. In addition, as of April 30th, the canteen account owned 2 certificates of deposit valued at $15,000 and $131,778.74, totaling $146,778.74. That is the extent of our report.
Okay. Does anybody have any questions for the Deputy Controller? A motion to pass, approve her report as provided? A second? Okay, all in favor? Aye. Thank you, Ms. Elkowski. Community Correction Center report, Mr. Jeffers.
Good afternoon, Board. Community Corrections Program report for April 2017. Item 1, program totals: male work release had 46 participants, female work release had 6 participants, adult house arrest had 133 participants, and juvenile house arrest had 20 participants. Item 2, our program's revenues for the month of April totaled $68,184.77. Our program's expenses, item 3, totaled $145,944.37. Item 4, our program's completions. Work release had 11, house arrest had 33. Item 5, our program violations and returns. Work release had 7, house arrest had 12. Item 6, our program warrants. We have 8 for work release, 0 for house arrest. Item 7, our budget report for the year. So far, overtime is at 27%, expenses are at 33%, and revenue is at 36%. Item 8, our law enforcement grant for the women's work release was granted. All the necessary paperwork was filled out and sent in to the state for full reimbursement. I spoke to them on the phone last week. Everything that we sent in was proper, and they are working on getting our money back into our general fund.
Very good.
That concludes our report.
Thank you. Any questions for Mr. Jeffers? What's included in that money, Brian, that $52,000? What are you going to be getting?
It's the rent for 2 years.
Great. Good work.
Thank you.
Any questions? Thank you.
Thank you, Board.
Motion accept Mr. Jeffers' report? Need a second? All in favor? Aye. Warden's report, Mr. Betty.
Good afternoon, Board. I'd like to start off by apologizing. My fault with the warden's report. I was on vacation. I came back this morning. I thought I sent it to Tracy last Wednesday, and I told her that this morning. I apologize deeply to everyone. I'm not one to be late with reports or anything along those lines. There is a deadline. It's Friday before the prison board that I get it to Tracy. So, again, my apologies for that. So I'll get started. The average daily in-house population for the month of April was 862.53 inmates. Regarding overtime, out-of-county board and community service program participation reports, they're attached. The staffing update, currently our corrections officers' numbers break down to the following. Uniform staff on shift, 170, 14 of which are in training right now and will be until 6/8. We're going to actually push it back to 6/13 for an additional week of on-the-job training. So it's going to be 6/13. The number out on workers' compensation is 2. FMLA, we have 1 continuous FMLA and 17 intermittent. That's 10% of our correctional officer staff. Other is 6, and vacancies 1. As I just said, we have 14 cadets in our 5-week-long training program. They began training on 5/3/17. I wrote in this report because at the time we were anticipating them being on shift on 6/7. I've had a request from our shift commanders to provide them with an additional week of job shadowing, and we're going to do that. So it'll be 6/13 when we get them on shift. Budget as of April 30th, revenue is at 20% and expenses are at 29%. Juveniles, currently we're housing 2 juveniles, 1 male and 1 female. Inmates at or past their minimum date, it's 24. 9 of them have no home plan. 5 have had their parole denied due to unacceptable home plans. 7 have their home plan submitted and they're awaiting parole. 3 have submitted home plans, but first have to finish up programming in order to qualify for parole. And finally, 9 have been remanded for the balance of their sentence.
I want to bring this up. This really matters. We never had this on our report in the past. And it gives you an actual idea exactly what the reasoning is, rationale behind why they're there at the jail.
Yeah,
That's really matters.
we're trying to itemize it more and more so it's more informative.
But also, I noticed the numbers are lower now, so
Yes.
that is working.
Yes,
Program.
that is definitely working. The fact that we're more cognizant, yes. We're more cognizant of where we're able to push those individuals a little bit to help them to get out. Nobody's, well, I shouldn't say, I'm gonna knock on wood, nobody's fallen through the cracks. That can happen, that has happened, but because the entire staff is more and more aware of the importance of this, we're catching a lot more. I believe everyone.
Yeah, the numbers are very low.
Single digits since they started,
Right.
so good job.
Thank you. Extraordinary occurrence reports. There were 2 in the end of April. There are 2 in May, so a total of 4. On 4/21, a county inmate was placed in the restraint chair after attempting to hang himself. On 4/30, a county inmate was placed in the restraint chair after expressing suicidal ideations and being uncooperative upon commitment. On 5/10, a county inmate was placed into the restraint chair after assaulting a cellmate in their cell and refusing to follow staff orders to stop. And on 5/15, a county inmate was placed into the restraint chair after throwing an unknown liquid substance at an officer. PREA, there were 4 allegations of PREA violations since our last meeting. 2 were deemed unfounded and 2 were unsubstantiated. Finally, training. This is something new that I added in here. I wanted everyone to know that we had 33 employees recently attend mental health first aid certification classes. The classes were provided by NAMI, that's the National Association for the Mentally Ill. We've now made this full-day training part of our training regimen for all new hires. Also, we had 2 Stop the Bleed classes provided by the staff of Geisinger CMC, and a total of 29 staff members successfully completed the course and have been awarded certificates. And this concludes my report.
Any questions for Warden Betty?
Good job.
Good job. Actually, FMLA, I'd never seen it 10%.
It was 20-some,
awesome.
30-some.
35%, I've seen it. So,
Really good job.
Yep, we're getting there.
This isn't even a year. He's only there since late June.
Yeah.
these programs we implemented obviously are working. So
Yeah.
that's a credit to you and your staff.
Well, on behalf of the staff,
work.
thank you.
Okay. Any other questions for Warden Betty? A motion to accept his report? Second?
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Good work, Betty.
Thank you.
Opportunity for the public to address the board.
Hi,
Hi.
my name is Margaret Miles. I live on Bernie Avenue in Moosic.
Could you repeat that, please, your name?
Margaret Miles, M-I-L-E-S, Bernie Avenue, Moosic. I have here what is the discovery package from ADA Gallagher in the or the Commonwealth versus Scott Bloom. Sure. There are in here, and I appreciate you, Warden Betty, I do, and I love your reports getting better, awesome. But there are 5 false reports in this discovery package from 5 of your correctional officers that do not tell the truth, that did not.
The solicitor's not
There's
here,
no
and you
solicitor.
can't discuss.
We
it.
Yeah, I was just going to say that that's a legal.
You can't do that here.
I can't-
How do I find out why these 5 employees are still employed with the county?
At the next meeting, ma'am, when our solicitor is here,
Who's the solicitor?
David Soffinelli.
David Soffinelli.
yeah. There are matters we can't address. That legal
Okay.
opinion has to be.
Okay. The DA's not here either, and these are the questions I
Called in
have.
at the last minute. He had
Right, of course he
conflict.
did. He has conflict all the time, every time I call.
I apologize, ma'am. None of us here are lawyers.
Sure.
If there was a lawyer here, we'd be happy to entertain.
Sure, so I have to wait until next month again, and you'll be at the prison next month?
You could conceivably call a solicitor.
You can call the
I'd like,
office, we'll make arrangements.
I'd like everyone to know. Thank
Okay.
you.
Thank you, Ms. Miles.
Thank you.
Sure. Anyone else like to address the board?
Hi, my name is Joanne Perry. I'm a member and an official visitor of the Pennsylvania Prison Society. I attend Lackawanna County Reentry Task Force meetings every month. I'm involved heavily with reentry, and I appreciate Warden Betty and all the programming that's being implemented at the county. Okay. On behalf of the Prison Society, we have made reports and emails that have been submitted with regard to the subpar level of care. The medical contract ends at the end of the year. It is my hope there will be a new care provider resulting in higher quality services, as the DA receives campaign contributions from the current medical provider, so I've been told. What is your comment on that?
Again, I don't think this is appropriate to comment on.
Okay. Do you have any idea what is being done to resolve the ongoing phone and commissary exploitation? We have submitted reports and emails with regard to that. The expenses, they're enormous. Items are being sold that are not supposed to be for individual sale, such as oatmeal, for instance. In the Department of Corrections, they sell a box of oatmeal for $1.92, whereas in the county prison, they're 1 packet for approximately 85 cents.
Warden, do you have any comment on that?
We're in the process of finalizing a phone contract with the company right now that was vetted through the RFP process and the assistance of Tracy.
Yeah, okay.
And we're just getting started on commissary now, so that's information that I find very helpful.
It is to my understanding, the commissary contract, whoever the provider is, that Lackawanna County gets a 40% of a kickback of their generated earnings.
That's not a
There's
kickback.
no such thing
It's
as
a kickback.
a kickback. And
Well, excuse my vernacular, maybe for lack of better words, but 40% is then generated back in to
Pay for the cost of the prison. That's what it is.
well, that's what I'm asking. That's all,
No, piece for the cost of
the
prison.
40%? That's what I was asking.
I'm
Okay.
not sure what the number is, but whatever the number is,
Right.
it's for the cost of prison.
Thank you very much.
Mr. Chairman, you should allow us to get answers to these questions and get back to her, because I think a lot of the statements she's making are not verifiable. Several of the things have not been called to our attention. I knew nothing
Yeah,
about the cost of oatmeal or anything about.
None
You
of
should
these
know
matters-
they're public access. I have a copy of the commissary list that's provided to your inmates.
We haven't received any of this information, Mrs.
I've received multiple complaints. I've received multiple complaints from countless inmates about the cost of the items that are being sold on this commissary, and I've compared them to the Department of Corrections commissary list, which is available on the DOC website for the public to view. So in comparison, it's astronomical.
There's been no concerns raised at our prison board meeting.
Pax Christie and Father William Pickard have raised this over the last several years, in addition
I
to
don't know
Pat
who sets-
Rogan.
Excuse me, ma'am. I don't know who sets
Okay.
these rates.
Thank you.
I do not know who sets these rates.
Concerns.
This is the first this board has heard of
First
this.
time in 16 months, these concerns have been raised at a commissioners meeting. We can go back and verify that at the meeting of the prison board meetings. And I've served as chief of staff since January
this
of
has never come
2016, and I've never heard one of these concerns raised.
And this we're not doubting your information, but I think it would.
You can
probably-
view it for yourself.
Well, again, that would be interesting, but there are a lot of issues.
Sure.
But if you have this information readily available to you, and you actually have that, if you were to maybe send something to us so that we could then in turn review it and get answers for you, we would.
Well, Mr. Warden, the Warden Betty has a copy of the commissary list, and as I've stated, you can go on the Department of Corrections website and access their commissary list to make a comparable.
Betty would have the time to.
Okay.
go through it, and
I can do that. I would be willing to.
If you already have done it.
I do.
you would share it with us, we'd be glad to look at it.
Warden, if
I
you
would have
know
to
who
make
sets
copies.
these rates at the commissary, is there a
That rate would have been set the last time a contract was signed with Oasis.
Okay.
This is our current provider.
Okay.
And that's running out December 31st. That's
Okay.
something we're working on now. But I don't know. I'll take Joanne's word for it that it's a 40% commission on the profit.
Could you check into that, please?
But that would have been set 4 or 5 years ago.
Okay.
That contract was signed.
I'm just,
Thank
when I visit inmates, whether they're in work release or the DOC or county jails, these are just concerns that are expressed to me that in turn I feel obligated to get answers for. So I'm sorry. But with regard to the uber unreasonable phone calls, I've been told they are approximately $5.25 for a local phone call. The phone call lasts approximately 20 minutes. In comparison to the Department of Corrections, they had a class action lawsuit by and through the DOC inmates where their calls were also $5.25 approximately for 15 minutes. Now the Department of Corrections for local call, now they are 89 cents for 15 minutes for a local call. I believe that affordable fees to be allowed to,
Working on that, that's what's being worked on.
I
It-
think this
it
is
is?
being worked on, ma'am. We're-
by whom? Do you know?
No, the phone contract has been settled and solved, and the rates have been set.
Do you know what those rates are?
I don't have them in front of me, but we'd be happy to get that information provided to you. Get us a question.
Yes, we have addressed that issue in the past.
Get back to
It's
you.
actually lower than it ever was. I figured the numbers are, but it's lower.
Would it be in comparable to the Department of Corrections?
We'll get back to you. with
Okay.
those
We'll get,
Okay. Indicated the funds will be returned for rent expenses for work release. I work with 2 females that are currently in the work release. They pay $105 a week apiece for rent, I believe. Could you clarify where that $105 per person is being allocated?
Goes into the general fund.
Mr.
Mr. Chairman, she's just a tad bit confused on the way it is. The funds that are generated that are profit for the prisoners go into the canteen fund. The canteen fund then are used for the benefit of all the prisoners. We don't have an arrangement where phone fees are being paid to pay female prisoners work release rents.
And those policies have been in effect a long time, right? That's nothing new.
I'm not, I'm asking, you had said that that some funds will be returned as rent expenses in the amount of $50,000 plus approximately, if I'm correct in what I heard, right? So it was called rent for work release. So my question is, if that's rent being returned for work release, the $105, I'm just curious how that gets dispersed, that's being paid per person. Isn't that rent for the units itself?
The answer to the question is that there is rent being provided by the county to rent apartments for these women to live in.
Madison Avenue they're
That's
located,
correct.
okay.
That's correct. They are then entitled to live there to get out of prison, and they are charged $15 a day to work release, just like the men are. The money that comes in gets cut to the general fund.
Okay, thank you. And I have one last question, and I'm sorry.
No.
Could you please let me know, is there any progress with the ongoing investigation alleged against, there was 40 individuals, I believe, listed on the lawsuit Matt Comerford had filed. There has been recently appointed detectives from Wilkes-Barre
Ma'am,
Criminal Division with
Excuse me.
questioning
Excuse me, I'm not trying to interrupt you,
accused
ma'am.
and victims.
These are personnel matters. It's an ongoing
It's a
investigation.
personnel matter?
I'm concerned about your personnel. My family, I have troubled family. I'm concerned about bad people employed in the county prison.
I appreciate your concerns, ma'am, but it's an ongoing investigation, and we can't comment on that right now.
It's ongoing, though, that's what I was asking.
Yes,
Okay.
ma'am, it
It's
is
still
ongoing.
I was told there were appointed detectives from the Wilkes-Barre Criminal Division out and about questioning the accused, victims, witnesses,
The
et cetera.
Attorney General's office, ma'am, is in control of that investigation.
Okay.
That's all I
Thank
can
you.
tell you about that.
Thank you, I
You're very-
appreciate it.
you're very welcome.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
For bringing the concerns to us.
Anybody else like to address the board?
Hello, I'm Dr. Stephanie Bressler. I live on East Gibson Street in Scranton, and I'm representing Progressive Women of Northeastern Pennsylvania. At the last meeting, I asked for the amounts that each job title pays for men and women, and I was told I would get a response to that, and I didn't see a report attached to the agenda and was looking for that information.
Warden?
I can
I-
give you verbally the answer is you were looking at the women and the jobs that they.
I would like to, I had asked specifically in my letter to the judge, sorry to interrupt you, but I just wanted to clarify here that I asked specifically for the amounts that each job title pays.
And Dr. Bressler, I did not do the report because I didn't get that letter asking for the specifics. I could tell you what everybody gets paid. I don't have a problem doing that. I don't have a problem doing that right here and now in front of everybody. That's fine.
Warden, would you come up to the front, please?
Yeah,
Because I'm
and I
having a
would
hard
really-
problem hearing you.
Yeah, and I would really like to see that in writing.
Yeah, that's no problem at all.
I may forget a job or two, but basically what Dr. Bressler is looking to do is compare the pay rates for the female offenders to the male offenders. The females, there's basically 3 different jobs that they can get: tier walker, block worker, and reception worker. The reception worker, I'll start with because it's the most complicated. You get either $5 a day, which is the highest paying job in the prison, or if you're just being held for court costs and fines, every day you work out there, you get $50 knocked off of your court costs, which is actually a better deal than $5 a day. Same thing happens with the men. The women who work out front as reception workers are signed by court order into the community service program. Instead of, like the guys going to the recycling center, the women work at the reception area of the prison. They help, they clean the floors, they clean the bathrooms, they take out garbage, they do all different tasks out in our reception area. And that's considered their community service, highest paying job for them. The tier walkers and block workers, and Deputy Warden Langen, correct me if I'm wrong, are $3 a day?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. I wasn't sure if it was 3 or 4. The men make the same amount. What we are looking at, because the men get those kitchen jobs, and I know we talked about that previously, some of those kitchen jobs, the cooks make $5 a day. What we are looking at is coming up with a couple different tasks for a select number of those block workers, the female block workers, to give them additional tasks, to give them a little bit more, $4 or $5. I don't have all the numbers yet. I do have my business department looking at it to say, what tasks can we add? How's this going to affect that line item in our budget with paying, it's called inmate labor. There's a line item. And we have to take a look at that because I can't go over the total amount for the year. So we have to take a look at that and see if we can pay them $4 or even $5 an hour. Again, we need to justify it. We need to be fair and equal, and I know that's what you're looking for. If a female block worker is going to make $5 a day and a male block worker is going to make $3 a day, I would have a problem with the male block workers. And they would have representatives here at this meeting complaining on their behalf, and I'd be fine with that. So I want to give the female block workers a couple extra functions, give them, if I can do $5 a day, $5 a day. But we're not quite there yet, and I am working on that. I'm hoping to have that by next month. Hoping to have a distinct answer. But to your point, I did not submit a report because I never got that from the judge, and I apologize for that.
Thank you, Warren.
Okay, and why we're looking for that information is exactly what you said. We're really hoping that there will be some equal opportunities for women. And I know that there was a discussion last time about what difference does it make if you make $3 a day or $5 a day? Well, it does make a difference to some people who have no other source of income, and especially since we're hearing that the commissary items are expensive. People need money, women need money to pay for those commissary items, and also, I understand, to pay for their medications at times. So we are concerned that women have those equal opportunities. According to the controller's report, it sounds like the county has a lot of control over large sums of money from the commissary and the canteen. Enough money and stable enough amounts that they're invested in some CDs. So we're really concerned about what those proceeds, that 40% of the commissary profits, what those proceeds are actually used for. What are they supposed to be used for, or do they just get thrown into the general fund?
I believe somebody mentioned, I believe it was Mr. Jeffers, the money goes into the general fund.
Oh, okay.
Would I be correct, Mr. Jeffers? That money goes into the general fund?
There's a separate fund for the canteen fund. The controller gets reported at every meeting.
But does that report show exactly where that money goes?
into the canteen fund.
Okay.
That's not workplace.
Okay, and the canteen fund is used for?
That's for the inmates.
Board members vote on the items that are expended for the canteen fund.
Okay, so that's
For
what
instance,
happens.
Different things, that improvements at the work release center were paid for out of the canteen fund. The washer, the dryer, which benefits the entire prison out there, was paid for out of the canteen fund. They were voted on. I don't have a list of each one in front of me, but that's what those proceeds are for.
Mr. Wallace, basically, you're saying any upgrades to the prison for the inmates comes out of the canteen fund?
Special things, general
But I mean-
upgrades, general maintenance are paid for the county. Things that specifically.
But I mean, like a washer, dryer, dishwasher, things of that nature.
Specifically that the inmates would benefit by, the consideration is given, it's brought to the prison board, and the prison board decides this would be a good thing to pay for out of the canteen fund. The study that was done, which was going to improve the operations of the prison for all the inmates, was done, it was paid for out of the canteen.
Yes.
So the commissary contract we're hearing is coming to an end. Is it going to be bid out?
Where did you want to address some of these?
I think,
Yeah, before answering that question real quick, I just wanted to say some other things that the canteen funds are used for. When we buy new televisions,
Correct.
basketballs, rims, nets,
Right.
anything with our recreation area. When our new contract is signed and finalized with the phone company, they are giving us tablets for the inmates, electronic tablets. I want to buy GED prep courses and load them onto the tablets so that they can do GED preparatory work things like that. We can expend it. Rule of thumb is inmate benefit in some way, shape, or form, and we can,
And these are all individually voted on by the board?
not everything is. There are things, and thank you, Reggie, just gave me a list. Our cable bill is paid for with the canteen fund. And remember, the canteen money comes from the profit that the county prison gets placed into that fund from those purchases, whether it be through the phone or through commissary.
The 40% that
Whatever
we're
that
talking about.
percentage is of the profit, yeah.
Okay,
Haircuts, we provide free haircuts to the inmate population. Somebody's got to pay that barber or beautician to cut their hair, and that comes out of the canteen fund. There's a couple others. but I
If there's a
won't bore you.
special project, it's vetted by the prison board. The
Okay.
smaller routine things, as the
Are
warden has
not.
pointed out, that have been going for years, they're paid for out of the canteen fund.
okay, thanks for clarifying that. Okay, the medical contract is also expiring at the end of the year. I've asked a couple times about that, and the response has been, well, it sounds like the judge is thinking about doing something a little bit different. Is there a commitment from the board that it will be bid out this year?
We'd have to defer that to our solicitor.
We're currently looking at it, an RFP or an RFQ for services. We're not
Okay.
going to just automatically renew the doctor's contract.
Okay.
That's what we're looking at right now.
So there is a commitment not to automatically renew this contract?
That's my understanding.
Okay.
That's correct.
Well, that would be part of it. That's a little
Use
bit
the
there.
rec center.
Well, they have a 6-month, but no, that's at the.
That's it.
at the-
That's for kids, I believe.
That's a
Okay.
6-month contract.
Because you're talking about it's over $2 million for this contract. There's a lot of money. The contract itself, I've looked at it, other people have looked at it. There's very little information about how that contract is supposed to be implemented. The contractor has a lot of discretion in selecting subcontractors, for example. There's little information how all of that is audited, how the services are monitored. How does the prison board hold this contractor accountable? Do you know?
We certainly do.
Well, His contract expires at the end of the year.
Right.
So-
His monies are audited, they're contracted, and he is not paid $2 million a year.
Right,
It may
I
be
understand that.
$2 million a year goes into the entire medical, but that is not the fee that
Right.
the doctor is paid.
Right, and a lot of-
That number is not correct.
Well, in the budget,
That's a
it's $2.4
large
million.
number, I don't think
I
For all
understand.
medical operations
Right,
at the
and I
prison.
understand that a lot of those are subcontracted, but he really has discretion over who those
That's part of his
subcontractors are.
That's part of the contract he has
Right.
with the county that was negotiated as part of.
And so
part of the
how do
settlement.
we know that you're getting the best quality service here at the best cost?
I'm sorry, may I ask,
Yeah.
who are you referring to subcontracting what for this department?
I'm sorry?
And who would he be subcontracting to? What do you-
He's not providing all of the services directly, so he needs to contract for other services.
Like,
I think there's a set amount of money that he gets, and then there's all this money that goes to
Does he have a
subcontract.
dentist and specialist in
Yes.
there?
Dentist,
When he
podiatrist,
calls in, he
Right.
pays them, we don't pay them
Right.
directly. They're paid for under part of the medical.
Right.
It's part of the contract that was done with the doctor who runs the prison 10 years ago, and I think it was renewed
Right.
once after that. We looked at the option of renewing it this year. The board said they wanted to look at it further, and we're probably going to open it up.
out of that
Affirmed-
2 million he pays all those different?
I don't have the exact amounts in front of me.
Really?
When
Yes.
when Mrs. Bressler says $2 million.
I'm sorry, I'm not Mrs.
Mrs. Corbett, I'm sorry.
No, I'm not Mrs. Corbett either.
What
I
is-
am Dr.
Dr.
Bressler, or
Bressler.
call me by my first
I'm
name,
sorry.
Stephanie.
I apologize.
Yeah.
In any case, when individuals are coming in and saying numbers that are unsubstantiated, I don't want this board or anyone in this audience to think that there's a $2 million figure. That's just a number, a figure that she's using. That is not the true figure of how much we're paying at the prison or what the contracts are being paid out. We could get that information, the controller's office could verify that and submit it to the prison board members. And if you want to release it at the next meeting, you can do that.
Ms.
They are not
Elkowski, would
the
you
correct
work on that,
figures.
please, for the next meeting?
They're not the correct figures.
Okay, and I just want to say, this has come up before. I am not here representing my husband. I am here representing women.
I apologize, ma'am, I
Okay,
didn't know.
and I am not, I
was
did
trying-
not.
I was trying to be as
Yeah.
polite as I could, and
Okay.
when I said Mrs. Bressler, I forgot
Yeah.
you were Dr. Bressler. I knew
Well-
that you were married to Steve Corbett.
Yeah.
People call my wife
that-
Mrs. Wallace, so
Right.
I called you Mrs.
Yeah.
Corbett. I sincerely
Yeah.
apologize. If that's
Right.
not what you
My
call
being
my-
here
my
today, I am not
apologies.
representing him, I am
Right.
representing women. And my concern mostly is the women, but everybody at the prison. Okay, a couple other things about the contract itself. Who will determine the criteria for bids in this contract? And I know that you use PRACES to manage other prison contracts and to put together criteria for bids. Will PRACES be looking at this contract and putting together the criteria for it?
Ma'am, we're going to take a look at all the bids, and we're going to collectively,
Yeah. But to be able to put it out for bid, you need to have criteria. So you need to be able to say.
We have a medical RFP that's currently being drawn up by our chief financial officer in consult with the warden and a team of people who are working at it. It is not being done by PRACES for the medical contract. Mr. Chairman.
we have people who are going to evaluate everything, ma'am.
Okay,
Okay,
I hope
so
so. And,
be
you know, one
prepared.
of the
We're-
things I'm concerned about are services in this contract expected to just meet the Eighth Amendment standard, which means, you know, we're avoiding cruel and unusual punishment, or is the standard really the more desirable community care standard, and certainly the ADA, where that's appropriate. So, you know, I'm really concerned about how this contract is going to be written, what the criteria will be for them. Can it be restructured so that we have better reassurance that there will be high quality of care for the amount of money that's being spent here? So, and then finally, we would request that the DA, who is not here, recuse himself from any decision-making on the medical contract, as it's been reported that the current provider and his wife have provided him with campaign contributions. So we really do ask that he recuse himself.
We'll take that under advisement, Doctor. Thank
The
you.
record should also reflect, we do believe that we give all the inmates high-quality medical care, the same as every other citizen in the United States. They don't get substandard medical care.
I thank you for that statement.
I agree with that 100%, Mr. Wallace. I think,
Correctly on these items.
I'll second that statement right there.
I agree with you. Would anybody else like to address the board? Yes, ma'am. How are you today?
Bev DeBarros, Scranton. I just want to keep the book project going, you know, to keep you informed. It's slowed down. We are getting some books in there, but I just spoke with the warden and the deputy warden, and we're going to have a meeting and see how we can move forward. As far as the book carts, 5 are there already in the prison. So that's progress. And thanks.
Okay. Thank you, ma'am. Anyone else? Members, other business? Motion to adjourn the prison board meeting. Second. All in favor? Aye. Thank you, everyone.
Who was that?
I couldn't, a lot of those.